Let's take a look at this 9-year-old construction app business making $1,140,000 per year in profit and recently listed for sale by Quiet Light at an asking price of $6,840,000. That is exactly a 6x valuation multiple. I'm going to go through the listing here, pick out some of the key details so that we're all up to speed on the listing and this business, and then go back and kind of flesh out the details and share some of my own experience-based insight from acquiring and operating online businesses. All right, so let's jump into it here. And first thing to talk about is the valuation multiple. That's a little on the high side for small business acquisitions, but in the SaaS or software space, I'd say that is right smack dab in the realm of fair. So 6x valuation multiple for a SaaS business, particularly one that is 9 years old and profiting $1 million a year, a 6x valuation multiple is pretty fair, okay? This business is also SBA pre-qualified. Now I have to say it, there's no such thing as SBA pre-qualified. More technically speaking, it would be SBA eligible. There's nothing disqualifying it about SBA, and it has 3 years of US tax returns, and it's got $100K in MRR. So for a SaaS business at a relatively high valuation or higher than other business model valuation, the stickiness and robustness of the cash flow stream going forward is very important. So we're going to look at some of those details here, I think, in this listing. I've not gone down any further than what you see on my screen. Okay, and before we get to the description, one other number I will point out is the revenue here. $1,284,000 of revenue and profitability of $1,140,000. That works out to like a 90% margin. It's a very nice margin there. And that's semi-characteristic of these SaaS businesses. It really depends on which phase of the life cycle the business is in. If it is still growing and acquiring customers aggressively and developing, the margin might be a little bit lower. So this high margin here tells me that this is more of like a legacy SaaS, and they're probably not developing the product as much, or have kind of stopped development of the product because they've built it out to everything that the current seller has in their vision, and they're optimizing for profit at this point. All right. So it says it was launched in 2016. It is a mobile-first SaaS app serving small to medium construction contractors with estimating, invoicing, and payment processing across iPhone, iPad, and Mac. The app syncs comprehensively with QuickBooks Online, operates fully online at remote job sites, and requires just 5 hours per week from 2 owners. The business delivers exceptional product market fit in a fragmented $1 to $3.84 billion market through exclusive partnerships with the worldwide, or being the #1 worldwide reseller of Craftsman cost books, and only one of 2 companies with Home Depot private API access. Industry-leading metrics validate product quality with 32% download to trial conversion versus 6.9 industry average, 9% activation rate, and a 2.6% monthly churn. Generates $1.28 million in trailing 12 months revenue, $1.14 million in SDE at 89% net margin across 2,500 active subscribers, a $688 lifetime value of the customer. And the business operates with 0 marketing spend. The founders eliminated all advertising across $1 million in revenue, creating an opportunity for a marketing-focused buyer to inherit a profit engine with a proven playbook, 367% and 121% year-over-year growth during heavy advertising periods and immediate levers, including 56,000 past trial users, 4 win-back campaigns, 0 SEO presence, dormant social channels, and complete enterprise plan. Required 3 to 6 months to launch at $99 to $149 a month. They've got a modern tech stack with annual security audit compliance since 2019. The company represents a profitable, scalable SaaS business. And down here, they've got a lot more details on the metrics. I really don't feel like going through them because I feel like we just got a ton of metrics, but $688 lifetime value against $112 customer acquisition cost creates a 6-to-1 LTV and CAC ratio, meaning you can acquire customers very profitably. And lots of other good numbers down here. Okay, so what does this business do, just so we're all on the same page? My take here is that this is some type of estimating and invoicing software. I guess that is just literally word for word as it describes, that integrates with some type of estimating cost book. I don't know exactly what Craftsman cost book is, but I would guess that that is some type of software that has current line item pricing that contractors use to build their estimates, particularly in most likely the remodeling space. It didn't really say if there's a niche or anything, at least I didn't pick it out, but I do actually own a home service contracting business and I am a licensed contractor, but I've never heard of this Craftsman cost book. So it's got to be most likely it's in remodeling, like bathroom or kitchen remodeling. Those seem to be the most standardized, and I personally don't have any experience in those niches. But yeah, there's likely some type of big niche that this Craftsman cost book is in, and I don't know anything about it. I'd certainly want to flesh out how robust the Craftsman cost books is and if it's still relevant and if it's growing in popularity or not. Anyways, yeah, it is some type of estimating software. It lives on the app, so it's got to be cloud-based, which is good. They've got a modern tech stack, but it has not had a security audit since 2019. That may be like some type of SOC 2 compliance thing. It's the only thing I can think of, but that seems odd for this type of business. Otherwise, there's a lot to like here. So let's talk about what we like, and that is the margin, this profitability, the time in business. It's been in business since 2016, so that is, roughly 9 years old. I'm recording this in December of 2025. And the business was just recently listed for sale. The churn rate is quite low. The lifetime value and customer acquisition cost are very good, right? An optimal ratio there. They spelled it out for us. $112 historical customer acquisition cost at a 6-to-1 lifetime value on the customer. So that means that you're losing a little bit of money up front to acquire the customer. You're not making it all back until several months go by. But still, at those numbers, you can have some pretty robust growth, okay? A lot to like here in this business. Employees, two contractors. Now, they don't mention if the two employees here are the sellers. And well, they say two contractors, so I'm going to guess that they're not the sellers. But we'll talk about the sellers in a moment here. Overall, a lot to like about this business. What are some of the things I don't like or you might want to consider or scrutinize as the buyer of this business, okay? First thing I guess we'll go into is the sellers and their 5 hours per week that they spend in the business. Somewhere in here it says it has 2 owners and requires just 5 hours per week from 2 owners, so 10 hours total. Number one, whenever I see that 5 hours per week, I always am kind of skeptical because most sellers typically wind down their time in the business. So let's just say it is 20 hours per week from each seller. Now you've really got 2 people here that you either need to plan on replacing or plan on filling yourself, and you have to consider the skill set. If they're totally different skill set, like if one does business development and the other does software development, you have to be able to fulfill both skill sets. So they may not be fulfillable by the buyer. I'd really want to flesh this out here and try to figure out exactly what the sellers do. And I would look at this business and really try to analyze what needs to happen in the business here, right? Like, what do I need to do to make this business stand independently of myself here? And really, how much time is that going to take going forward? As opposed to trying to get the sellers to tell you exactly what they do, because ultimately you need to build your own assessment of what they do. The other thing is this Home Depot private API access. I would really want to flesh out what exactly this is, because I really don't know what that is. I'm guessing it is something to do with pricing and costing, but is there a contract, and how much does the business rely on it? If the business heavily relies on it and there's no contract guaranteeing you this API access going forward, then you've got a bit of risk, right? That you really need to figure out, like, what are you going to do with here and have a backup plan for continuing the business without this API access. Is it as easy as shifting to Lowe's? Does Lowe's provide the API access? Does the customer base rely on Home Depot and they would be unhappy if you went to Lowe's? Yeah, if this is a major component of the business here, this could be, potentially a problem. Or maybe not a problem, but definitely a challenge going forward. All right. And then the other thing, the modern tech stack and annual security audit compliance. As I already mentioned, the only thing I can think of is SOC 2, but I don't really know much about security. Otherwise, I can't see why security would be much of an important factor in the business, so I don't know why they'd list it here if it's not. But anyhow, the tech stack is something to consider. How robust is it to build out from, right? Like, is it a solid foundation, or is this thing just a crackpot of code? Do you have a developer on staff? Is one of these two contractors down here a developer that can build out new features, right? What could be built out? Is the software market competitive going forward? They mention $112 historical customer acquisition cost here, but they don't mention how competitive it is in the market and when this historical sample was taken. If this was a few years old, there could be other players in the market that are really just outcompeting it and grinding it down. Okay, so those are all the things that I would want to consider. But still, overall, I think this is a very good business that is fairly valued. So let's talk about the business's valuation here. It's at a 6x valuation multiple. And if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that my approach to valuing businesses is to assign a multiple to the business model as it currently exists, and then multiply that by the cash flow going forward that you forecast over the next year here. Here we've got a time-tested and aged SaaS. They've got substantial market penetration. Maybe not substantial market penetration, but they've got quite a few customers. There's a proven product market fit here. They've got good margins. They've got a couple of contractors. I think that a 6x valuation multiple on this business is fair and accurate. The only thing I think that could really hamper it here is this Home Depot private API access, or if customers have just started dropping off in the last 12 months. In that case, the valuation multiple should be reduced. Okay, so let's just say it's worth a 6x valuation multiple. There's no other substantial risks from this API access or risks of customer just dropping off. Just assume its normal churn rate. We don't know how the business has performed historically. We really don't have enough to forecast it out. But let's just say that it has stopped acquiring new customers and it's just churning out 2.6%. Well, really your cash flow in SDE really doesn't go down that much. So, at a 6x valuation multiple, yeah, the asking price is, I would say smack dab right on fair. I would say this is a fair and realistic valuation multiple here, or fair and realistic valuation considering the cash flow is going to stay the same. If the cash flow is growing, even while they are doing no marketing and acquiring no customers, or maybe they're acquiring customers organically, we don't get enough detail in here to say that, then I would say that the asking price looks even better. Subsequently, if you look at the numbers and we see the churn rate is not actually 2.6%, it's gone down 10%. Let's just kind of model that out. 140 times 0.9. times 6. A valuation of $6,156,000 would be more realistic for this business. Overall, though, my quick take on it is that it is fairly valued here. So, yeah, good listing by Quiet Light. And if you're in the market for a SaaS business, this one would certainly be worth inquiring on. On that note, guys, if you found this video helpful and insightful, you know the drill. Smash that like button to help me out in the YouTube algorithm. I am calling it a wrap and signing off on that note.